Death Stranding 2 is a Kojima Productions action-adventure direct sequel to the divisive 2019 game of the same name. The short of it is, if you liked the first game, this one is much improved. However, if you didn't like the first game, I'm not sure you will like this one much better. Would you like to know more?
Okay, this is a Hideo Kojima game, which I personally love. The stories are always interesting and cinematic, but it comes with a healthy dose of convolution and meta commentary. This game features a slew of concepts to remember from the first game, as well as provide some new ones. I recommend a recap video or two before starting, because the recap in-game really isn't that sufficient in my opinion. Just remember, even though the story takes place presumably on Earth, it isn't remotely realistic. Most of it is about style and vibes. Look at the moon, for example. One night it can look like this, and the next night like this. The phrase, "I hope they can land the plane," doesn't really apply to this game. That particular phrase implies the story has reached a sufficient height, and the hope is that the story doesn't mess everything up at the end. "I hope they can solve this Rubik's Cube" might be a more accurate statement when it comes to the storyline. There are multiple sides to the story, and it is unclear how they all fit together, or if the team can really put a jumbled heap of nouns and story beats together into a cohesive whole. In my opinion, they were mostly successful. Just be prepared to say,
I'm sorry, but what in the world is going on?
Nothing that makes any sense.
In regards to gameplay, this game is going to have publishers scratching their heads for years to come. As of this writing, I have completed the game at approximately 120 hours. There are many other sites giving high praise and high scores to Death Stranding 2 already. But the reason why this is so confusing is because this game has an encumbrance system for carrying too much weight, a weapon and item degradation system, large and often lifeless expanses of world to explore, fetch quests and escort missions, blatant product sponsorships, blatant cameos of celebrities and influencers. As someone who has pitched games and have been pitched to, I know that there are many known red flags and despised features in open world adventure games. These are all well documented, and yet Kojima-san has managed to put many of these features together, and as the primary gameplay loop. And then he put a AAA budget behind it, and seemingly still gets high scores and sells enough units to sustain business. Many of these elements I mentioned are mainstays from the first game. I will say that the game has been streamlined since part 1. Access to vehicles, improved weapons and gear are provided early and often. Cutscenes are kept fairly short and the glossary is updated regularly. In my view, this is a big improvement over Death Stranding 1, but I'm not sure it's enough for those who didn't like the first game to suddenly like this one. The Decima engine is in capable hands with the team at Kojima Productions. The environments and lighting are amazing, and the uncanny valley look to the characters is mostly gone. There are some spectacular visuals here which I don't want to spoil. The sound design is also great. The unique trills of the Odorex scanning the land, the mechanical hums and virtual cheers juxtaposed against the rain and the howling winds. It really sets a vibe and tone that feels unique. The soundtrack, however, is hit and miss in my opinion. The soundtrack also helps set the mood, but honestly, I listened to podcasts when I was making my deliveries. Overall, the game is great. There's likely a bit of Kojima bias on my part as I'm used to his style of writing and storytelling. I also don't mind fetch quests, encumbrance systems, and degradation. I am not sure I would suggest this game for anyone who is easily bothered by those mechanics, however. But if you are not bothered by those mechanics, then I will see you on the beach.